Oklahoma football fans, college football fans, welcome in. For those who don't know who we are, I am Josh Mahler. This is Chad and Tierney Smith, and we are Oklahoma at the voice of college football. Welcome in live for a very special edition. Huge thanks to Woodworks Distilling Company here in Oklahoma City for allowing us to come out and do a live show. And then, of course, live on YouTube as well. So if you're in the YouTube chat, as always, you can jump in that chat. And we've got Chad running the chat tonight. So whenever we have time, we will get to the live chat as well. And then, of course, if you're here in person and you want to jump up to a mic or anything like that as well, we can always have you come down to Tierney's side, and I'll have her throw that on. If you don't want to jump up to the mic, you don't have to. You can always just do that from speaking it to us, and then we'll just kind of reiterate what you got for questions, concerns, comments. It's a big week here in Oklahoma for the Oklahoma Sooners. They've got a big-time game, and it's a game that I think a lot of fans are excited for many reasons. It's got a lot of implications on the line for both teams. You've got the Oklahoma Sooners, who are hoping to right their wrongs from a season ago, an atrocious offense. I think everybody can say that confidently. And a team that is trying to bounce back and become the Oklahoma Sooners that college football knows and that college football respects. And that just wasn't the case last year. And for Michigan, really the same thing. Of course, a big regime change. They had a lot of things not go their way in turning things around and going over to Sharon Moore, of course, coaching change, all of that last season, but also with a 6-win season throughout the regular season, of course, a big-time bowl win against the Alabama Crimson Tide. And so Michigan really wants to turn their season around as well. And so, again, that's why this game matters so much for both teams. And honestly, I'll get into it first. I think another reason, too, why I think this is a big game, and it's important for the Oklahoma Sooners specifically, of course, that's the side that we're going to focus on, is because I think for Oklahoma, you want to win this game moving forward, and you want to be able to look at the win and be happy with it. But a win does not really matter as much for Oklahoma, and this might be a hot take. A win doesn't matter as much as what a loss would, and that's why they need to win it so badly. It's not necessarily that the win is really going to do as much for them as what the loss would do. I think the loss would do a lot more harm. Chad, I mean, I think looking at Oklahoma, Michigan, what else do you think makes this matchup so big?
Well, just starting off with why the game is big, you have, I think it's 60 recruits coming in. 10 are going to be 5-star players. You have 20 different states represented by the amount of recruits we have. So you have 40% of the country already at the game. It's already pent up to be the biggest game of the season for Oklahoma right now. And like you said, I think it's like a mirror game for OU. Since Brent Venables got here in 2021 season, I've said 2025 is the year I'll judge him or be critical of him, because I thought that was the year he would have all of his players in. He would have time to develop. He would really have time to really have his system and culture implemented. And that's this year. And I know last year we were kind of depleted by injury. We were not really the team that we even showed on the field just because a lot of the guys weren't available. But that's no longer an excuse right now, right? You have all the guys coming back. Jay Knott will be back this weekend. You'll have 3 linemen that will be available. I don't know if Asusi will play as a true freshman, but you hear Gabe or Teddy or one of them talking, and they're talking about he should start. Either way, you're going to have guys that you didn't have last week. And for Oklahoma, it is a game that there's so many games that I feel like Brent Venables has been a part of where you really feel like you should have won. And regardless of the guys on the field or who you had, Oklahoma tends to they've lost games in the past. Maybe this is just a bias of being the fan, but you don't see them win them, right? And this is a game where Michigan has talent. They have a quarterback that shows a lot of promise, especially as a true freshman. But if you are one of the best defenses in the country, and I think you're a playoff talented team, if the offense can gel, you can't let a true freshman, you can't let a team that is still kind of rebuilding in its own way come to Norman and beat you. Not when you're the preeminent game of the weekend, and it is timed up so well because there really isn't another great game this weekend, right? I mean, College Game Day is going to be struggling to make these picks sound intriguing, if we're being honest, especially compared to week one. And you have literally everyone watching you. John Mateer is picked to win the Heisman by a lot of people. He's at least picked to be in the race. Heisman games don't just pop up. I mean, there's going to be more this year, I guess, than we're used to at Oklahoma. But those games just don't come out of don't come dime a dozen. And so it is you talk about must wins or not. For me, it's a game that you need to win specifically to show the recruits that are there you're where we all believed you would be or should be, and it's to show the fans and everybody. You develop momentum early. You saw Texas do it last year. Notre Dame, when they came in 2012, beat us and were able to go on to the championship. This is a game that Oklahoma can build on, and it's one that it may not be a must-win in terms of it's going to ruin your chances at the SEC title. Obviously, it won't, or even the playoff. But it is a game that I think will go a long way. And you might have put it perfectly when you said the loss would hurt us more than the win. But it's a game that you build off of, and wins are going to be tough this year with our schedule. Even though some of the teams didn't look as good as we had picked them preseason, there's still talented teams that can beat you any given weekend. So you rack up a win against the team that later on in the season is probably going to be pretty good, especially with the schedule they have. They're not going to have a lot of difficult games, so they're going to have a good schedule, and it'll carry on the rest of the way. Yeah,
and again, too, the biggest reason why that win does something, or I guess that the loss does more than what the win would, is that loss starts to make fans spiral, starts to make fans start to think, oh no, we're there again.
Oh, you fans? I never do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't do that.
But, and then on top of that, within the building too, you can say that you try to move forward and play one game at a time, but we all know that it does affect whenever you have a loss. It affects everybody in the building. It affects the fan base. If it affects the fan base, it's going to affect the atmosphere, which we saw last year.
Yep.
And, there's a lot to it where a win, Michigan might not be good. We still don't know.
Right.
Bryce Underwood might not be as good as I made him out to be earlier this week. But he might be really good. And either way, a win is more, more less avoiding the loss than anything. But Tierney, how are you feeling about this matchup for the Oklahoma Sooners?
So it's really hard to go third because I feel like you guys touch on every single point. And just when I was like, okay, great, they haven't touched from the fan perspective yet, Josh does.
No, take it over. To talk more about it, because you hyped everybody up. Was that on Monday?
Man.
Yeah.
I'm so sick.
You hyped everybody up.
So, yeah, that was going to be my thought. I feel like the team, of course, needs a win. We all like to win. But, the fan base is so sick of losing. And if you noticed around the third quarter of even the first game, how dead it got in the stadium because we were like, what is going on? So, if that starts to happen again at Michigan, I just feel, as you stated, it's going to make the atmosphere for all games going forward not be what we would want it to be. Versus if we get a win, we get a big win, then we set ourselves up to have a better atmosphere, which of course bleeds onto the team, and it's just contagious. And so I always say that fans we do have some control of the game. We can control a big play by giving energy. We can basically create it, if you will, or you can even cause a false start when you're trying to play defense, and you can make changes like that. So that was just going to be my last point.
Yep.
Was just I feel like the fan base needs this win because I feel like 100% OU fans will spiral if we lose this game. Within one caveat, if we actually play really, really well and we just get beat because Michigan's the better team, maybe not as much spiraling, but that would require more of our fans to be a little more rational. So more than likely, that's not going to be the case. So hopefully this for the fan base for Oklahoma, just to get off on a good start, this could be a win for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and whether you win by 3 or you win by 20, the fan base is going to be excited about a win over Michigan because of the name brand. Everybody calls this a helmet game because you look at the two helmets and you know the tradition, you know the history behind both programs. And again, another reason why game day is coming to Norman and why you've got the best crew from ESPN commentating on this game, and it's a big reason why the tickets, if you looked at the recent ticket prices, I remember looking a few weeks ago before the season started, and the ticket prices might have been right around that average of 150 up to up to $500 for some of the expensive tickets, but then now some of your cheaper tickets are going for your $400 or $500.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
I mean,
Chad and I could sell our ticket for this game and probably pay off the rest of the season.
Exactly.
We're not going to do that, but we could.
Exactly. So, it's when you look at that, it just shows you how everyone else views this matchup and how big the fans also view this matchup. It's huge. And that's a big part of it. And I think everyone around the nation would start to take Oklahoma a little bit more seriously as well if they're able to pull off this win against a good defense, no doubt.
Yeah.
The offense is still questionable for really both teams.
Yep.
There's aspects of both offenses, but I think when you compare these two defenses, how the offense performs against either of these two defenses, I think is going to tell you a lot about those offenses.
Mm-hmm.
But going into it, kind of QB play, the offense, thinking of John Mateer, again, Illinois State, all respect to Illinois State, but they're no Michigan. They're maybe the juggernaut of their conference, really not even of their conference because they're in a tough FCS conference. But before the season, preseason, they were ranked number 6 in the FCS. Tyranny, that's not a matchup like against Michigan, and this Michigan defense is definitely going to be a tough one for John Mateer. How does he perform his first season, or really his first big game under the lights in Norman? He's even mentioned himself too that this is a different atmosphere. Everything about coming to Norman is different. How does he perform in this big game?
Maybe I'm a sunshine pumper, but I think he's going to do well. I think he has that type of personality where bright lights, big matchups is like his like photosynthesis of a plant. When he's getting his sunlight, he's just going to thrive. So that's how I feel like he's going to do. I'm not so worried about John Mateer. He was very decisive game 1, even though, again, Illinois State. But I just feel that maturity from him. Granted, he is a little bit older quarterback, but still, he was decisive. He knows the offense like the back of his hand. And so for him, it's going to be almost like automatic versus having to think about it a little bit more. So I'm really not worried about John Mateer at all. I think he's going to do very, very well. Again, I think he's even tough enough that even if that defensive line is going to get pressure on him, that he's going to be able to stay in the pocket and complete the throw, or he's shifty enough, he can evade it. Now, I will say if they're coming out in full speed and he's trying to maybe we should get down at some points, but I'm really not worried about John Mateer at all. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I think we have a good quarterback. I think we have a mature quarterback, a decisive quarterback, and a leader that I think under these bright lights is really going to show out.
And for those who are watching, might have recognized an open seat. That's because we got a man coming all the way from Nashville to come and see the Oklahoma Sooners. I'll turn that on for you. We got Chris Phillips from SEC Unfiltered. Thanks for making the long trek. And I didn't realize you were going to be making the long trek straight to here, basically. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, 10 hours.
10 hours.
I left this morning at 8 a.m. We just pulled into town. So appreciate you having me. Happy to be here. We're staying about 2 miles from the football stadium. So awesome. Pumped. Yeah. First time ever being in the state of Oklahoma. Obviously, first time being in Norman. So couldn't think of a better game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it is a big game. And that's what we were just now mentioning as well. How do you look from, I'll call you an outsider's perspective, because you're not an Oklahoma fan. You're an SEC guy first and foremost, really. And that's what you paint yourself to be. How does the outside look in at this game for how big this is, specifically for the SEC looking at Oklahoma?
Well, first from college football, it's obviously the game of the week. Yeah, I heard you guys. I was listening on the way here. The slate is I feel like these slates typically are when the craziness happens. We're going to get some unexpected, but I mean, this is the place to be. It's why everybody's coming to Norman, Oklahoma. And I think everybody wants to see, you got a Michigan program with a young quarterback and Bryce Underwood. A lot of questions for them and a lot of questions for OU too. We know what this year means for Brent Venables, and obviously all the hype surrounding John Mateer coming in from the portal, Jade Knott from the portal. You got a big wide receiver you picked up, I believe, from McNeese or Morehead State.
There's a Kennesaw State. I don't know if Giovanni will, and then Illinois, Southern Illinois as well. Southern Illinois, and then Giovanni's Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah, see, a lot of portal guys, a lot of questions to answer, but it's a huge game. I mean, I looked at Oklahoma's season. I think this one in the Auburn game, 1A, 1B, whichever one you think is the most important, but I think because this one's first, I think it's a huge tone setter for the year. Talking to Oklahoma folks in the media before the season, I know we talked to you, we talked to our friends over at the Ref, and they made it very clear to me that 8-4 or worse wasn't good enough. So if you're going to go 9-3 or better, I think this is probably one you have to have. You're a touchdown favorite, essentially. You've got a young freshman quarterback coming to your place. Again, I'm really stoked selfishly to see what the environment's going to be like. I would imagine it's going to be absolutely electric. And I heard you guys talking about it, and I agree. Can Oklahoma get back to being one of the top figures, if you will, in college football, where you feel like they belong? You know, I mean, it's been really interesting from the SEC perspective over this last year and a half or so, or what have you, 2 years since Texas and Oklahoma got in the league. And I know I joked with you about it, but being at SEC Media Days last year when Nick Saban made the comment that Texas isn't going to run the SEC like they ran the Big 12, and Oklahoma people are shouting from the rooftops, they didn't run the Big 12, we did. Yeah. But I think people have just kind of forgotten for whatever reason. Yeah. I think this is Oklahoma's first opportunity. There's going to be a lot more throughout. And I think this is such a big game because, you know, you guys are mentioning if you win, it's a big deal. If you lose, it's probably a bigger deal. But if you win, the Auburn game becomes the biggest game of the season. Like they all get bigger, obviously, as you keep winning. But I think this is what we're going to find out. Is it more of the same of last year, or is this really, truly the new Oklahoma? And I think it starts up front, man. Both lines of scrimmage. Are you ready to go at the point of attack? Because Michigan, for all that they've got new, they're still, you know, really good on the defensive side of the football, especially the defensive line. I think you look at that Oklahoma offensive line first and foremost is the thing that I most want to see, you know, Oklahoma at least hold their own in the trenches. And you guys mentioned last year was such a disaster with all the injuries. And so you didn't even really get a good look. You didn't even know what this team really was. So there's no excuses this year, man. I mean, again, you went out in the portal, and I think you made the investment in this football team and this football program to, you know, get an ROI, and that ROI is at minimum. If you don't make the college football playoff, at least getting really close. So, and it starts in this game. Like I said, I think if you're going to be the team you want to be, if you're going to be, let's say when we get to turn the calendar to November, if you're going to be in the college football playoff hunt, this is a game you need to win. And I'll say this too, selfishly, it's big for the SEC. You know, I mean, I was in Columbus a week ago, and I know nobody in this room, obviously, or this city shed a tear when Texas lost, but it was a pretty brutal day for the SEC last Saturday with Alabama and the way Texas looked. But this is a little bit different dynamic. And Oklahoma's the favorite. They're the home team. You need to go out and establish that and kind of set the tone from the beginning. And there's a lot of reasons I'm excited for this one, but certainly from the Oklahoma perspective, it's a massive game. There's no other way to spin it. Yeah,
it really is. And again, that win, like you said, it's big. The loss is bigger. That's how I've looked at this game really since the beginning, before the season even started. But we were talking a little of John Mateer. One thing that I know, to kind of go back to Tierney's thoughts too, you mentioned how confident he is, how he seems like he controls everything. I heard Keontez Lewis in an interview talking about how he goes out there and he runs the offense. If he needs to make an audible, he makes the audible. That's how much Ben Arbuckle trusts him. He trusts the system. That's a lot of confidence for a guy. I know he knows Ben Arbuckle in that system, but to come to a new school and do that as well, I think that's really big.
And how different is that than last year when you had, I always say, like, OU fans will go hard on Jackson Arnold, but the dude was dealt a terrible hand. Like, you're missing all your receivers, your linemen are injured consistently, and then you change up offensive coordinators in the middle of the season. You don't have a quarterbacks coach like you do with Kieski. I can never say his last name correctly.
I just say Coach K.
Coach K, yeah, that's a good one.
Leave it to that.
And you have a guy like now with Mateer who has done it, and I know it's not against a defense like you're going to play against Michigan, but he has done it against Division I athletes. He's done it against defenses that are, scholarship too. And I always say this, like, there have been a lot of quarterbacks that are talented at the level that John Mateer played at. He had one of the 6 best seasons any quarterback's ever had. 4 of those seasons, they finished top 2 in the Heisman race. 3 of them won it, right? And so when you look statistically, and that just doesn't fall off a tree. The dude's extremely talented. And what he's really good at when I watch him play is he has great anticipation and he throws confidently. He's not someone who I feel like he doesn't let the rush get to him. I think he knows he can rely on his athleticism in that way. And he plays with like an aura. And I know I was listening to y'all's show this week about the prediction show, and you were saying I'm happy to just see him out there and run. One, he's way bigger, I think, than people realize. Like, he's lower body like a linebacker. He's built, but he has a presence about him that if you watched Manziel or Baker or one of them, he has that same kind of confidence back there. Now, will he be? I hope he's as good as them, obviously. Will he be? I don't know. That's still yet to be seen. And this will be the best defense he's played. But he's passed every test so far, and he played really well against defenses and teams that had quote-unquote better athletes on paper. The defensive line for Michigan is going to be huge. They have 11 of their 13 are 6'4" and over 310 or 300. 8 of them are over 310. So they have size still. Now, they lost Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, but they're still going to be good up front. And if you can perform well against a team that has a good rush, that's going to probably do as much as they can to make you one-dimensional. I mean, it is a game that sets you up for long season success, and it's one that kind of just shows that John Mateer really is the guy. And I mean, how much confidence does that give his teammates, right? Like, because I'm sure some of them were like, I mean, let's do it against this. Let's do it against a defense that might be the best we see all year.
Well, yeah, and the confidence that you're giving everybody else, it all relies on the quarterback. Whether because the quarterback's the guy that gets the ball, he's the guy that gives the ball, or keeps it himself, I suppose. But every single play.
And you want to look over and know that the dude you're seeing get the snap is the best player you got. He's a dude, you know.
And if he's got that confidence, everyone else has confidence in him because of his confidence. I'm saying that word a lot. It doesn't make any sense in my head. But, yeah, I mean, it really does. It bleeds out to the rest of the team around you when your quarterback has that. And we'll get to Bryce Underwood, too. I don't want to sit here and talk all about just John Mateer, because Bryce Underwood also shows a lot of that, especially for a true freshman. Like I said, we'll probably get to him.
I was curious. You had some thoughts earlier about John. What did you see? Like, what are you excited to see him do? Or, like, what would impress you tomorrow if he goes out and does X, Y, or Z? Or Saturday, yeah. If he does X, Y, or Z, you'll say, all right, that's what I expected him to be.
I mean, I think you want to see him be poised, be composed. I mean, it's a huge opportunity for him, because I think the big question coming into this season was, and there was a lot of excitement and buzz around him. And, I mean, I remember we talked at SEC Media Days. We talked a few months ago. It was kind of hard to get a read on this team just because, like, a guy like Mateer, for example, did it at Washington State. But this is the SEC now. Like, this is a Michigan defense that, for everything that Michigan's lost, like we said, they're still really good in the front seven. They can get after you. So, I mean, I want to see a guy poised. I want to see a guy composed. What I didn't see last week in Columbus, admittedly, from Arch Manning, I want to see the opposite of that. Guy takes care of the football and distributes it to his playmakers. And obviously, I don't worry about him making the big play. Like, he's a guy that's just got a knack for the big play. The bottom line, when you watch him, he's a ball player. I don't think it really matters the level, but it's a huge opportunity for him, man, to show the country what he's all about. And if there is going to be a Heisman campaign, or he's going to make a run to New York and be in the conversation, it starts in a game like this, man. I mean, you're going to have a lot of them in the SEC where you're going to be featured in prime time, or you're going to be featured against a big opponent. But, you know, I think against this Michigan Wolverines team, the stage is set. I mean, that's what we said earlier in the week when we were previewing this game. Like, the stage is set for John Mateer in that offense, and he needs help. He needs help from guys. Getting Jaden Ott this week, I think, is huge. I heard you guys mention, of course, a couple of linemen coming back, so they need a push up front. It starts with the big uglies up front, but I mean, the stage is set for John Mateer. So again, I just want to see a guy most of all composed, in control of the offense, which he should be really comfortable with Ben Arbuckle calling the shots. He was with him last year, but guy that takes care of the football, and, you know, when the big play is there, obviously take advantage. And I want to see, I'm really excited to see, like, him just work in person, the improvisation, the way he gets outside of the pocket, uses his legs, but also the downfield passing game.
Yeah, and you know, we're talking a lot. You kind of led into it with getting Jaden Ott back. Like I said to multiple people, I'm pretty sure he's going to be out there. I don't think you put him out there for whatever it was. I think 4, maybe 6 total plays if you count the kick returns. I don't think you put him out there if he's not good enough to go in week 2. So I think he'll be back. I think where this game is won or lost is who can run the ball, not even extremely well. I don't think it's even like who's going to run the ball and have the most numbers, but who can just run the ball effectively when they need to the most. I think that's what matters. First down, can you get yourself ahead of the sticks, you know, and when we look at this, of course, like I said, I think Jaden Ott will be back in. I would imagine he would be. Who else do you see in that running back room? Because, again, last season it was terrible. Torrey Blaylock led the team with 44 rushing yards. He was phenomenal. But the run game itself really wasn't very good, and Oklahoma just barely got over 100 yards of total rushing on the day. How do they improve from that? And do you think they improve from that, Chad?
Yeah, I do. I think getting the lineman back, first off, is the biggest key. You get Derek Simmons back, probably right tackle. Out of Western Carolina, the key that really made a lot of people excited about him was how fast he got out of his stance, and then the ability to use his hands, really advanced usage of his hands whenever he's fighting blocks off, and pretty quick and athletic with his feet, and strong as well. He's just going to be a 6-year player. Oklahoma didn't have that last week, and you know what makes you frustrated, and it's been kind of I'm sure every team feels it, and maybe you would know, but it's like every year Oklahoma plays, we're missing 3 linemen, it seems, till like week 4, and then you're finally like, all right, well, it seems, I guess we're going to go with this the rest of the year. So getting them back's big. The Jay Knott thing was odd. I mentioned on a space this week that it was weird phrasing to hear Arbuckle say he's in a good headspace now, and it's like, because that implies to me, like, only inference I can draw was that at one time he wasn't, And it's like if it's just an injury, usually they just say he's okay, his body's healthy, he's ready to go 100%. And maybe that means nothing. And if you go out and you perform against Michigan, who cares at that point? But there is an aspect of, is there some of the, I want to show people what I can do now because he didn't get the opportunity in game one. And you're right, it was weird. He's out there for kickoffs. Apparently he was told not to return any of them. You kind of saw that in the first one too, when he was kind of iffy on if he wanted to catch it or not. But you got to have someone with vision, especially if we're going to struggle pushing people off the line like we did the first game. And Javonte Barnes, as good as he's been in the pass game, which is kind of a Jekyll and Hyde thing, you're going to need him for pass blocking, especially in the second half when Barnum's back. But there's a take in that he's not the best vision-wise running, and it can kind of hurt our run game some.
Yeah. Well, and you can't just put him out there just for pass block every time, or else you're gonna.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna give it away. But going back to it, I mean, obviously the run game doesn't get going. You mentioned it's a game between the trenches. That's college football anymore, especially in the Big Ten or the SEC. It's all on the trenches, and I don't think there's too much concern. There might be some from last weekend if you really look at specific, like small plays. But if you know this Oklahoma defensive line, there's not a whole lot of concern there. But the offensive line, that's a little bit of a concern. We've been talking about that. Of course, getting some guys back and all of that. Can Oklahoma's linebackers jump in and make the difference and pick up that slack? If obviously with Justice Haynes going crazy last week, I expect he's going to be their feature back. How does Oklahoma adjust and specifically in the trenches, or if you've got to go up to the next level to slow down that run game?
Yeah, Justice Haynes certainly going to be their feature guy. Got to watch him at Alabama, really good player. I mean, I agree with y'all. It's as much as we talk about the quarterbacks, and they're going to be a huge part of this game, it really is, like you said, going to be about getting yourself in second and manageable, even third and manageable, because for either one of these quarterbacks, this goes for any team. If you're playing behind the sticks, you're getting in third and longs. It's not a method conducive to success, right? And like as good as I think on the other side, like I'm really excited to watch John Mateer, the offense work, but I'm excited defensively how they attack Bryce Underwood because he's a heck of a talent. You know, he had a bit of a layup in week one. He did what you'd expect him to do. But if you're getting a young quarterback like that, a bunch of third and longs, I like your chances defensively. I really do. I think it's going to be a rock fight. Like, I think that's the best way to describe this game. I think the over-under right now is set at 44.5. It's funny. I was thinking about betting the under, but I realized FanDuel doesn't work here. So, unfortunately, I'll have to ride what I already got, which is I've got Oklahoma to cover and to win. But I do think we're going to see both teams kind of settle in early, kind of two fighters feeling out each other. I'm expecting some big plays, but I think you're going to see kind of a lower scoring game. Run game kind of dictates what he does. I mean, if I'm Michigan, I'm trying to keep the ball out of John Mateer's hands, establish, 10, 12, 14 play drives, establish my running game. I don't want to put it all on my young quarterback. If I have to do that, I do trust Brent Venables in that defensive front, Kip Lewis at linebacker, R. Mason Thomas, obviously a bunch of guys we've talked about, to wreak havoc. So, we talked about how big this game is for John Mateer, setting a tone for him. I mean, listen, there's a narrative with Oklahoma that they're soft up front, because of what happened last year. You go out there, get a push, rush for over 100 yards, productive on the ground. I think you start to change that narrative. So, and I think, again, on the defensive side, I trust Oklahoma defensively to do what they need to do in this football game. It really is just come down to, like you said, and at times they got pushed around a little bit. Like you said, if you really read between the lines, they're going to have to be really good start to finish because as much as I hate to give the Big Ten any credit, they play grown man football. I mean, they're gonna bring it in the trenches, bring it up front. So huge opportunity for that offensive line to start to put that narrative to rest that Oklahoma's soft up front or not built to win in the SEC up front. You go do it this week, and I think you'll send a message that's not the case.
Yeah, and there's a lot that goes into it too with trying to make sure that offensive line is up to the task. And again, like we've mentioned already, just how many guys have been shifted in and out, how many guys have injury issues that they're trying to battle off. We're thinking they're all better, but Tierney, you've been quiet down there. You got any thoughts on the run game, trenches?
So my only thought on the run game, and I guess even in the trenches too, we say we're getting all these players back. Yeah. Until they're in the game and taking snaps, I do not believe it one single bit. And that is maybe I'm a Debbie Downer, but last year scarred me so badly that until they're, again, not suited out, not warming up, until they're taking snaps, I will not believe it. So I'm I'm actually very worried about the run game because in my head, those O-line players will not be back and Jay will not be out there. So
last year was an extreme, but I will say, like, this is why you need depth in this league. Because you're right, every team, you're going to lose 2 or 3 guys. Like, that's kind of just the rite of passage in this conference. So I think that was the thing. Again, how dare I give Texas credit here sitting in the state of Oklahoma. But, I mean, I think that's why they had success last year. That and the schedule worked out pretty well for them. I don't know what the deal with Sankey and the way they schedule for Texas and OU, but they were built in the trenches immediately to win. I think they still are. I don't know necessarily that was their problem last week. There were some other things that happened, but that's the big question for you got the playmakers.
Yeah.
You got the playmakers. Just can you win the battle up front? That's genuinely what it comes down to. Football at the end of the day is really we overcomplicate it at times. It's a pretty simple game. If I can line up more often than not, take the guy in front of me and move him where I want him to go, I'm probably going to have a lot of success unless I do dumb things like turn it over or shoot myself in the foot with penalties. But if you're able to do that more often than not, you're probably going to have success. Yeah,
and it's getting off on the right foot. I think doing all that early is the biggest part in this game too. But we've talked, maybe not enough, we've talked quite a bit about Oklahoma. Let's jump over to the opponent, the guys that are coming to Norman. And they're going to have to stand up to a test. I think the biggest storyline that seems to be going into this season is, or at least into this game, is Bryce Underwood, true freshman, coming into his first true road environment, really first road environment at all in college football. And it's in Norman. Anybody who's been to Norman, for those of you who are Oklahoma fans, you know how rowdy that stadium can be. And Tierney, we still haven't made that clip to make sure that she's trying to pump all of you guys up to make sure that you're loud in that stadium. And it might have been Teddy and Gabe talking about how much this could really lean on the rest of the home crowd as well. But we'll get into Michigan because they're the ones under, I think, more pressure in this game just because of that road environment. Again, with a true freshman at the helm, what can they do? But Chad, going over to the Wolverines, when you look at this year's Wolverines, I don't know how much of the game last week you were able to catch, but what stood out to you about Michigan right now, whether good or bad?
They're massive on the defensive line. Their best position on defense is linebacker, certainly. And then corner, you can beat them deep. I mean, their weakness is certainly on the back end of their defense. Corners play soft coverage. I don't know if they trust them as much on man-to-man. They won't get tight, really. And if you saw last week on free release routes, John Mateer and them were pretty consistent in making sure they hit those. So look, I would look for that early. But the biggest thing is going to be if Michigan's defensive line is able to create pressure or push our linemen back. And admittedly, there were a couple of times that even Illinois State did that, which worries you. It's going to be a long night, and it's going to be tough on our defense and our offense. The thing that I think it comes down, what I think it will come down to is just whether or not you are able to get these guys in downs in which you cannot predict what the likely play is. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier in third and short, second and short. I think a lot of what I'm going to look at more after this game is not necessarily third down conversion. I mean, you can just find that on ESPN, but how many second and eights, how many second and nines, how many times you get a first play and only went like a yard or back to the line of scrimmage. If you do that consistently, it's going to be tough to do anything offensively against them, and that's going to make for a long night. But yeah, they're very good up front. Lost two good first-round picks on the defensive line. Last thing, I'll just say this. I went back and watched when Texas played them last year, and they were very good on defense again. But if you watch how Sark attacks them, and I think it's going to be how Arbuckle does, not a lot just straight up the middle where their strength is. It's a lot of flood routes, a lot of getting the quarterback moving in the pocket. Granted, Quinn Ewer's strength at that time was really layering of football. He was great at crossing routes, things I think John Mateer is very good at too. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot of attacking the edges, making their corners have to come up and make plays, and just smart. What smart offensive coordinators do is they avoid the strength of the other team's defense, or try to at least, and get it to your playmakers. And luckily, you got a guy like Deion Burks, a guy like Satania who's that fast. You can get them out in space, and they can make plays for you. Yeah,
that's something I think a lot of talking heads have already talked about plenty this week leading into this game, is the game of chess that you're going to get between offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey and then Brent Venables. Brent Venables, if you take these last 3 years away from his career, everyone respects Brent Venables. I think they still do. Everyone respects him as a defensive guy, as a defensive coordinator. And so that's definitely the big test for the Wolverines. And obviously for Oklahoma, same thing, because their defense, Michigan's defense, It's stout. It's a good defense. Like you said, they lost 2 guys in the middle, but the 2 guys that they had replace them are guys that are used to this system. They understand this system. They're going to come in there. They're going to be very, very comfortable with where they're at. It's not like they're just completely lost and they're coming in as true freshmen or sophomores that didn't really get to know the system very well. These are guys that are coming in and understand this scheme pretty well.
I wonder after this game if we're going to look back and say, man, if Michigan had a choice to bring the 2 defensive tackles back or Will Johnson, it's like, what would they bring back? Because if you're attacking, if you look at the end of this game and Mateer has like the Heisman game that you're talking about, Chris, I don't think it'll be because he's running up the middle and rushing for 150 yards. It'll be because I think he's just attacking deep, And so I think it'll be kind of an interesting question to ask.
Yeah, we've talked about their strengths. Do you know any weaknesses of Michigan that Oklahoma could try to attack, Tierney?
So I talked with the voice of college football Michigan, TJ over there, just to kind of reiterate some of the points that he talked about on our podcast. And something that they're worried about also is they are worried about the trenches. So they're worried about their offensive line being able to hold back our defensive line. And he said especially that left tackle. So kind of makes me a little excited because we have some pretty good edge players that could, maybe expose that a little bit. And then as far as their defensive line, what they're looking for as well is trying to get that pressure on John Mateer, the same way that we're going to look to get pressure on Bryce Underwood. Now, obviously, we're hoping a freshman's going to fold a little more to that than John will, but that is something that they are worried about. Obviously, Jashawn Barnum being out, this first half's going to be something that they're worried about. However, whoever is coming in, his name is Cole Sullivan, apparently a dog. And very, very good. So, yes, they are worried from like a leadership standpoint, and obviously he is a good player, but there's just as much talent following him. And I'm actually worried about that more because I think when you have a player out like that, it almost fires you up more as a team, and you almost want to show out more. And then when they come into the game, their head's on fire. So, in a weird way, I almost see that as an advantage. And then one thing they're worried about, too, is their special teams. So, he said specifically – kick return and punt return. And we saw that they did have a fumble against New Mexico on a kick return. And so that's maybe something that we can exploit as well. Hopefully they have some fumbles for us, give us a short field. That would be fantastic. They have one injury that he has not played since the 2024 national championship game, Rod Moore. He's a safety for them. He is number 19. He is a graduate student. And they waited a whole year for him to come back, end up having to have another knee surgery. He's listed as questionable right now. So I don't know if they have the same scarring we do. If questionable means no. So I guess we'll just be looking to see if he's out there. If he is out there, he's definitely a playmaker, had several interceptions in his career. So that would be a good pickup for them. And obviously something that we don't want to see. He can come back week 3.
Yeah. Well, and questionable doesn't mean no. It just means don't hold your breath. Yeah.
Right. No, it meant no for us last year.
Yeah. No, it just means don't hold your breath. And that's, we're still going to be scarred from that as well. But all right, Big Ten SEC matchup. It's a helmet game. The two teams that have an identity from the past, but maybe at least for Oklahoma, not necessarily the same identity. They're trying to create that and get back to that identity. But what do you see from the Michigan Wolverines? How does their style match up against an SEC opponent, the Oklahoma Sooners?
I think what's fascinating about this game, listening to y'all and from what we've talked about all week, so many questions on both sides. I think that's because again, you didn't really learn a whole lot in week 1, like a lot of teams out there, right? You got your layup out of the way. I don't know how many conclusions you can draw from, the Illinois State win or the New Mexico win for Michigan. I think they match up well. I do think there's questions for the game in the defensive front. Anytime you lose a pair of top NFL draft picks, if you will, you have a guy like Barham out, you mentioned, for the first half. Yeah, I think it's a concern for him. I think it's a big opportunity for Oklahoma early, too, like we were talking about, to set the tone, go out there, punch him in the mouth, take advantage of a Barham not being in there, as talented as the guy behind him might be. I do like what you said, that a team can rally around it. I kind of think of like LSU last weekend when A.J. Halsey was out, I believe it was for the first quarter, and we saw how that defense, they were flying around the football. So I think Michigan – I think they match up well. I think you give a lot of respect to the Wolverines, and it's a team that I believe a lot in, like DNA of programs. It was one of the reasons, honestly, I really came around to, okay, I really think Oklahoma can pop this year. I think I talked to you that, Oklahoma, Auburn, Florida, maybe South Carolina, like somebody's going to pop. It's not just going to go status quo we've already seen, right? What's Alabama going to be? Like, are they going to be in that top 4? It doesn't look like it right now. So I think they match up well, but I do think Oklahoma has an advantage from a skill position standpoint. Again, I favor them at the quarterback. Bryce Underwood is just this massive question right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for me to go all in and say he's going to go out there Saturday night and ball out when, again, I just watched a guy in Columbus and Arch Manning with all this talent, and I had very realistic expectations for him going in, but I think a lot of people just forgot. And that game wasn't at night either, but it's like, hey, you're going into a hostile environment. It's your first ever big-time start for Bryce Underwood. This will literally be the first time ever he's been on the road, first time ever he's played a Power 4 opponent, first time ever he's gone up against a defensive mastermind like a Brent Venables, who, again, I really trust. And that was one of the biggest reasons. That probably was the biggest reason I picked Oklahoma to win this game, is I just feel like I think he's going to put together a really good plan. If they can stop the run, slow down the run enough, again, to get him in some uncomfortable positions, I'd imagine Brent's going to send the dogs at him. And it's like, hey, if the kid beats you, you tip the cap. And if he's a generational talent, so be it. We know how talented he is, but put him in a position where he's uncomfortable. He's got to make quick decisions, and you'll try your luck from there, and you can make adjustments. But, I mean, I think they match up well, but certainly it's just a lot of questions on both sides. And I know this wasn't part of the question, but selfishly, I forgot this was the nickname going this week, the Palace on the Prairie.
Yeah.
I am very pumped. I've only ever seen it on TV. Got to see it last year, the Alabama game, watched the Tennessee game, but I'm just so stoked to experience that in person, what the game day atmosphere is like. Because I feel like it should be a ravenous fan base. Like, this is a very desperate, hungry fan base. Like, we've got to get back to where we rightfully belong. So the crowd will make a big impact in this game. Again, for a young quarterback, communication is going to be massive for Michigan. How does Bryce Underwood, how does that offense handle that? And Sharon Moore, obviously coming back, right? He's the guy that cut his teeth here at Oklahoma. So many storylines in this one. But, again, while they match up well, I think a lot of questions on the defensive side especially, and offensively a question at the most important position. So, and, again, I like Oklahoma at the skill positions more than I like Michigan. But at the end of the day, who can set the tone up front, run the football, sustain drives, take care of the football, that's what's really going to determine. I'm excited for it, man. It's again, there's easily the most compelling game that we have in week 2, and just happy to be here witnessing.
Yeah, I think that the next one up, and I even got it. Tierney and I were laughing at the argument I got in on social media. Shout out to Parker Ainsworth.
A lot of rational
locked on
conversations
Cougs.
happen on social media. A lot of them.
He was trying to say that game day should have been at the Kansas-Missouri matchup. I don't agree. I don't know exactly.
No, I mean, look at those two helmets, man. Come
on. Exactly.
You got John Mateer, Bryce Underwood. There was no chance. There was never a chance they weren't coming here.
So,
never a chance.
I
think that's going to be a good game. It's Kansas, but it's not this level.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of history there. I get it. But going back to what you said, there's a lot of questions on both sides. That's what makes this so difficult. You go back to week 1, the reason why there is so many question marks is that you could tell both teams didn't feel like they were really giving it all, everything that they've got in the playbook specifically, not necessarily that they weren't putting it all out on the field, but Oklahoma for sure didn't look like they were throwing as much out there. They definitely screwed up on some things. There was some reads not made. There was some blocks not picked up. There was all kinds of things that they could fix, and that's a good thing to take away from. We were talking about that right after the game. I would love to sit here and criticize a win, especially when you won by 32 points. I mean,
never enough.
Yeah, it's never enough, and that's okay, and that's a good thing to have, a good problem to have. But for Michigan on the other side, I don't know how much they truly were trying to be vanilla, the way that they say that they were. I know 17 points is still a good lead, but there was a moment there when they had that little trick where the center bounced the ball back to their running back, and he popped it into the end zone, where I'm sure Michigan fans were a little concerned. And so, I would imagine that the coaching staff was too. And so I don't really buy that they were as vanilla as Oklahoma. And so, again, all of that, calling it vanilla, calling your play calls vanilla, it was definitely adds to that question mark for sure.
Just get 1-0. That's it. Everybody's sloppy in the season opener. Even the teams that go out there and score 60. Everybody is figuring it out. You never know what you really have. We don't have a preseason. It's different when the lights come on. It's different when you got 80, 90, 100,000 people in the stands. You just don't really know. So it is a luxury to have a game like you have where, again, you can nitpick a 32-point win, or I don't know exactly what the margin was for Michigan, but a double-digit point victory where you kind of cruise to a win. Again, there's a team in Austin that wishes they were 1-0.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of teams across the country wish they were 1-0. So the luxury of being able to go out there, have some things on film after a W, you can correct them, make the adjustments, and now it leads into this one, man. it's huge. You know, I think for Brent specifically and just where this program is going, like, it's not going to be a good look. I mean, even if in a couple of weeks you bounce back, you beat Auburn, it's not going to be a good look if you let a true freshman come in here and beat you on your home field at night. It's just there's no way to spin it. It's just not, you know. So
well, and there's been, and I don't know what topic we're going to next. Just with Bryce Underwood specifically, there has been a lot of hype around him. Obviously, he's very talented as a quarterback, as a true freshman. What impressed me most last week with him, it wasn't even necessarily the arm strength. It was the ability for him not to take the easy route, to take what the defense gave him, and to not try to show the skill and talent he has on the field every single time he had the chance to. Right? It's what really veteran quarterbacks do, is they beat you by what you give them, and he was able to do that. And for true freshmen, that's difficult. It's a lot easier when you go into the game knowing they have no shot to beat you, knowing that you are you have better athletes at every single position. And that, you know, no matter what you do, even if you mess up badly, you're going to win the game. I mean, obviously Appalachian State happens every now and then, especially to Michigan, but there's just no way he's going to lose that game. And then now you come to Norman, where you're playing a coach that's 21-5, BV's 21-5 against freshmen or true freshman quarterbacks. And I mean, streaks are meant to be broken. Michigan's won 13 straight night games, so they need to lose one. And I hear a lot of the comparison to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was really good his true freshman year. I don't think when people make that comparison, they are understanding the talent he had around him. Trevor Lawrence's receivers were T. Higgins, Hunter Renfrow, and Austin Simmons, I believe. Those are all three NFL guys, and two of them really, really good NFL guys. He also had Travis Etienne, who ran for 1,700 yards that year. I mean, and he had four of their offensive linemen that are still in the league. I mean, he was on a supremely talented team and one of the best defenses in the country. So, I mean, what they're asked to do is going to be different. Trevor Lawrence wasn't really – now, he did in certain games. He wasn't really asked to make every single play for him. Bryce Underwood's going to have to make a lot of plays against a defense that is very talented, very seasoned, and has a lot of experience. And not only that, they've done it in big games before. You know, we had the Tennessee game in College Game Day here, and everyone was asking, can we stop the run? Tennessee's run attack is so good. Are they going to stop it? Well, we held them to the lowest yards per attempt of any team they played that year. We held them to 3.3. Alabama comes, and it's Jaden Milroe, who had just ran for what? They ran for like 310 the week before against LSU. We held them to 70 rushing yards. It's just, you know, we answer the bell whenever we need to. We have ever since BV has gotten here, in terms of the defense needing to make plays. Now, the offense is putting them in positions that was just almost torturous. Yeah. It was almost a miracle how bad our offense had put our defenses in a position last year.
Well, and to that point, too, this is Brent Venables' guys 100%.
Yeah,
this is it's no longer any part of the old regime when you get into it. So I mean that's big. We're going to get to some of the battlegrounds. I want us to kind of take a side on one or the other, but go ahead and jump to the chat real quick. I know we haven't dove through there, and I see that it's piling up. So
yeah, absolutely. First one I wanted to talk about was a Michigan fan asked, any chance we get y'all signals before the game?
Connor Stallions was on with my guys from OU Insider, so who knows? They might have shared them with him. I'll text Parker and make sure that he didn't give any signs away.
Question about who will start at running back.
Jaden Knott, yeah, I would imagine so. And if it's not Jaden Knott, I would assume you're probably going to have a mix of Xavier Robinson and Javonte Barnes in there. I mean, that's what I would expect. Blaylock, from the last I know, is not going to be playing. He does have that shoulder injury, but it seemed like it wasn't too severe. It turned out to be a little bit more concerning than they originally thought. So hopefully he's on a speedy path to recovery. Yeah, but the big sigh from Tierney.
Traumatized by the injuries.
So much.
Oh my God.
So much drama.
It was literally.
Last year it became impressive at one point. The injuries piling up.
And what was so funny? It's like I don't know. We're all trained from like a young age, obviously in competitive sports at all. It's like don't make excuses. And I'm like, at some point, it's a reason. You can't play 9 true freshmen and act like you're going to beat out like SEC teams every week.
I like how you got to beat Alabama.
Like this sheet you got right here, just like a laundry list. Like
it was like a CVS receipt. It just kept going. Yeah,
we've actually got the book of the injuries we went through last week. Yeah, I mean it was ridiculous.
I had a question for you, and someone mentioned it too. I'm interested to see what your opinion is of the Oklahoma Stadium, how loud it is, considering you've been to so many. Obviously, you've been. I'm sure. Every SEC stadium, haven't you seen games there?
There's only a few I haven't. This one, Missouri, which I will knock out this year, and then Kentucky and Mississippi State.
So you've been to like Tennessee's, the Bama's,
yes, the LSU's of the world. Yeah,
Georgia's. I'm curious to see if how we stack up in terms of like how loud, because I know it'll be.
I mean, I'm again. That's part of this tour we go on every week. I'm super pumped. I try to pick if not the best game, the most compelling game. I think this is both. This is the best and most compelling game of the week. And yeah, I mean, I'm fully expecting Oklahoma fans to bring it. But yeah, I mean, selfishly, again, I'm excited. I think that they can make a difference. I know Oklahoma fans will make a difference. Again, when you got a young quarterback, like I said, making it really difficult for communication. So, yeah, I'm very, very excited for that.
I'm surprised you didn't want to change it up and see if Alabama was going to bounce back against you on Monroe.
You know what's funny? I talked to my buddy that's a big Bama fan. Even he was nervous. He felt like – so I'm sure you remember 2008, Nick Saban lost to La Monroe in his first season, and it feels like maybe the prophecy is coming full circle, and Kalen DeBoer is going to lose to La Monroe and get fired. But, no, I mean, this was the easy pick for me. I had a couple of Mizzou fans barking at me, come to the border war. Like, sorry, guys, we're going to have to wait on the Como trip for a couple more weeks at least. So, no, I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. We do our stadium rankings our toughest places to play rankings, every year before the season. It's tough for me to rank this one because I've never experienced it firsthand. So to actually get that experience, yeah, I'm really excited, And to get it at night too.
Yeah,
I try to avoid noon kickoffs like the plague. Unfortunately, last week I really did not have a choice, but to get out there,
you had to be at that one.
Had to be at that one. Yeah, had to be at that one, no doubt. But no, to see the tailgating atmosphere, the environment, to be amongst friends. Funny enough, that was the other different dynamic of last week. That was the first time I've ever been in enemy territory where I had people yell horns down at me, and I was like, because I'm wearing SEC stuff, I was like, this is what it feels like.
Yeah,
this is pretty wild. It's pretty cool feeling. Either way,
I know you hate Texas. I have proof of it.
Yeah. No, it's I've been accused of being a homer of I think everybody, but there is no secret who I'm pulling for Saturday night. It is big Boomer Sooner vibes. So hopefully the SEC needs it. I mean, it's talking about conference supremacy. You need it.
Someone asked if you want to answer T. What do you expect? What would be the one thing you're looking for in the game for OU to be successful? Yeah. What do you think?
What one thing?
Yeah.
One.
You want to see one thing happen
pick
Saturday?
one. What's one thing that if you think Oklahoma does well,
pressure on Bryce Underwood?
Look at that.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think
because
if you
freshman mistakes,
consistent pressure.
Consistent pressure on him. Make him. I want to see like the big scared eyes. Like when my dog gets nervous and they're bulging, I want his eyes to look like that. I want him to be shaking like a chihuahua. Like pressure on him.
I think Oklahoma's not doing something right if he doesn't struggle a little bit.
Oh, right. No,
he should struggle in this environment. I know I just jumped into your question, but
go.
I want to see John Mateer extend plays, extend the play with his legs. There's a big 3rd and 7 or big third down. Can he extend drives with his legs when everything breaks down, get outside the pocket, get that first down? That's the thing that's demoralizing for a defense when you have that guy. And I don't think Oklahoma, they didn't have a lot of things, obviously, because like we mentioned, half the roster was out, but they didn't really have that guy last year that was that game breaker. I think they have it in Mateer. I mean, it's the most important position on the field. You hate to oversimplify, but at the end of the day, you do have the quarterback advantage. I want to see Mateer, like I mentioned, all the other things, taking care of the ball, that poise, composure, but also scramble when it's there, improvise, use his legs, extend plays, and extend drives on those critical 2nd, 3rd downs. I think that's going to be big in this one.
Anything else from the chat?
No, we can go ahead and next topic if you want.
All right.
Some others pop up.
We'll try to speed through this one a little bit. So the main goal of this, I call it the battlegrounds. We're just going to pick one side or the other. First one, we're just going to say the trench. Okay, I'll go more specific. We'll say the Oklahoma offensive line against Michigan defensive line. Who ends up winning that battle? I'll start with you, Chris.
Is it a cop-out if I say it's a push?
No, I mean you can give reasons for both sides.
I think for Oklahoma, you've got those guys coming back. You assume at least. I think the offensive line is going to be bolstered. For Michigan, because of what you lost last year, it's tough to just go all in and say I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. Of course, I think it's a push until we get those answers. I don't know that I can really go one side or the other and lean heavily that way. So right now, I think that's the big question. It's got to be answered. It's kind of a 50-50 right in the middle.
Chad. Oklahoma's offensive line against Michigan's D-line. Who wins?
Goodness.
Hopefully Oklahoma's O-line wins more
Hopefully
often
Oklahoma's
than not.
O-line.
That's
I have to be honest. I wasn't impressed by what I saw by Oklahoma's offensive line. They didn't get enough push. And if I'll just go based on what I saw last week, I would say Michigan's D-line right now. If I had to pick what I'm more comfortable in, I'll probably get people to yell at me. But I have to be honest, and I'll probably pick some Oklahoma positions or battlegrounds that some people might not agree with. But I think right now Oklahoma's just struggled consistently at offensive line, and until they get or prove to me that they can be consistent and actually get push up front, I'm just going to I'm going to continue to be doubtful and maybe pessimistic even.
T, what's your pick?
I agree with my other half because you even
Your
hear
ex-boyfriend?
Yeah, my ex-boyfriend.
My ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
My roommate.
My roommate. Because you'll hear other Oklahoma podcasts say the same things like offensive line. What the heck? And you just got to play. Now, if they dig deep and find, the Jordan's secret stuff from Space Jam and take some of that and great. But again, maybe I'm just pessimistic. I don't think those guys are going to come back until they're out there. So right now I'd give the edge to Michigan, which I hate so much.
Based on what we saw last week, I really didn't see a ton of great from the defensive line from Michigan, although I know what they're capable of. I do look at TJ Guy, so that I was about to say he's a guy, but he's a dog. He's a dude, and he actually ties. I was looking at the stats earlier this week. He actually ties the team for leading in interceptions with one. It's incredible for an edge to get that. Of course, that was one that was batted up into the air. I think it was just right off of a guy's helmet, and then bounces right up into his hands. But still, he's going to come off the edge hard. And then also Cameron Brandt. The edge guys are the ones I'm worried about. But in terms of run blocking, I think I would give that over to the defensive line for Michigan's defensive line. Pass blocking, I told you guys this right after the game. Pass blocking looked really good. Go back and watch a lot of those passes. Even the interception, I think John Mateer should have held it just a little bit longer because the pass blocking was great. The pocket was set up for him, just climb up in it and deliver the throw. So I'm going to kind of go with you, a little bit of a push.
You mentioned that you're going to get yelled at in the chat, but I agree with what you said. I think Oklahoma has deserved the right to be doubted up front.
Yeah,
that's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
You're not being a pessimist. After what you watched last year, I know a lot of it was injury aided, but it was also just, and that was the big question last year, and they failed the test miserably. Great. Illinois State, awesome. You deserve to be doubted until you go out there and really do it.
And as much as I hate to be proven wrong, I would love to be proven wrong.
Right,
I would 100. We would.
Everybody loves the Oklahoma
more.
rush for 350 yards, and we're having a whole different conversation this time next
absolutely.
Week,
so
they deserve to be doubted. You do. So what are they going to do with it? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I think you are allowed to say that you're the best team in the nation, and as a fan, but also admit that you're not the best at every single position group to another team. I think that's fair to say.
But in picking them, and when I would have picked Alabama's D line over our offensive line last year, and we rushed for 280 on them or whatever. Yeah. It happens.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. OU's wide receivers against Michigan's secondary. I'll start off with you because I know you said you wanted to pick Oklahoma on one of them.
Yeah, I'll pick Oklahoma's receivers, and I'm going to call one of our receivers is going to have multiple touchdowns. Oklahoma has not had a wide receiver have 2 touchdowns against a Power 5 opponent since 2023 when Drake Stoops did it against West Virginia. So, my goodness, that's just another streak that needs to be broken. That was November 11th. I know because I went back and looked at box scores earlier during lunch to find out.
Are you going to count a tight end in that group?
No, I didn't count tight ends.
Okay, so could a tight end in this
sure
this matchup
if
possibly?
Cannett catches 2 touchdowns, we may storm the field just after the second one.
If he comes out,
he might be.
The reason why I say that, if he comes out and we've talked about this too, and I know plenty of others have probably talked about it, but the mismatch that he creates with any linebacker, especially when you've got your top linebacker out for the first half, I'm kind of curious to see how much they try to get him and attack that middle of the field to where later on they can attack the outsides and get them spread out again. And then that run game's going in the fourth quarter when you really need it the most and you're up. I feel like that's my game plan going into it, but I'm not a professional coach. I get as much as the coaches on the sidelines. But Oklahoma's wide receiver group against Michigan's secondary.
I would like to give our wide receiver group the edge on this one. And it's because last week, I say wide receivers, tight ends included, how many guys caught passes. So we actually had several weapons out there versus last year we had, 1.5 to start and then none by the end. And so I would like to give the edge to us just because I think there's going to be so many dudes out there that can actually get open and finish the play. So.
Yeah, I like it. Where are you leaning?
I'll go Oklahoma. Speed kills.
Yeah.
Speed kills. So excited to watch Deion Burks get after it. Satania is a guy that I feel like past like 2-3 years, I picked him to be the breakout player at Arkansas, and I never looked smart. So I'm hoping that maybe this is the year he finally comes on. But
well,
yeah,
he looked good, but reserved last week too. So.
But like I said, I like what Oklahoma's got at the skill positions. I think against questions in Michigan secondary, I know they're very physical, but yeah, I think speed kills. I think speed will be on display Saturday night.
We'll go 4 for 4 on that one then. So wide receivers beaten. I mean, it's again like you mentioned earlier too. Michigan plays that soft coverage. It's going to open up something down low, and Oklahoma's going to be able to attack that. Last one. Last one. I guess this might as well be the money line pick if you want. You've got Brent Venables against Sharon Moore. Let's make that a little bit more specific. Let's go Chip Lindsey against Brent Venables. Let's do offensive coordinator against defensive coordinator. I'll let you start this one off, Chad.
Yeah, I'll take Brent Venables. I think BV is arguably the greatest D coordinator the game's ever seen, especially specifically at the college level. And you mentioned it earlier. It's not like one of those teams where even last year, you had a lot of people that he didn't recruit. OU's got 8 starters back. The 8 starters were their 8 highest in tackles last year. 6 of those guys were recruited by BV. He's part of this first class that he had at OU. So they not only have talent, they have experience. They have guys that have only known BV's system. So you have all of that going for you, and then I have to factor in you have a true freshman quarterback, and I know he's going to be talented, but unless he's the second coming of 2019 Joe Burrow, which if he is, that's scary for 3 years. But it's just going to be tough, and again, that's your first true road game, and I'm sure it'll be the first time he's played in a road game in which he's not the best player on the field, and it'll be it'll be interesting to see him not only handle how the crowd noise will have an effect, but also how BV hides so well against true freshmen and true freshman quarterbacks or quarterbacks in general. He has people in Burrow talked, even though they ended up winning by a lot. Burrow talked about how difficult pre-snap reads were when he played him in the championship game. I mentioned my dad a lot. He was a D coordinator for 30 years at every level, but NFL. And he and BV have very similar systems. It's all about pre-snaps, disguises, a lot of pressure post-snap, and you're moving a lot of air. You're just moving a ton. And, if Bryce Underwood answers the bell, then not only will they beat us, they're going to be hard for anybody to beat because their defense, I think, is really good. So I'll take BV, though.
I'll move it to you.
I will take Brent Venables for 200, Josh. No, the level of experience, and I just referenced back to Chad's favorite video that he can't wait for somebody to cut the voiceover of Brent saying, "Why am I calling the defense? Because I'm good at it."
Yeah.
Chad can't wait for somebody. So if somebody out there is good with video editing, if we win this one, that's a great line to throw in there. But I just agree. We have so many weapons on defense who know the system and know it like the back of their hand. And we're going against a freshman quarterback. I just like that matchup. I like an experienced defense versus a freshman quarterback. And I think that Brent Venables is going to make it as absolutely hard and complicated and just unforgiving as he can against him. And I don't know. I like it. So 2 for 3, Oklahoma, my picks for.
Yeah, we're going 3 for 3 so far because, I think Brent Venables definitely wins that matchup again because of the freshman quarterback getting to him, putting pressure on him. I think that's the biggest one in this matchup. And if you can slow him down, you can make him nervous, where you're going after that, and we can start to stop that whenever it comes to us. But Brent Venables.
Yeah, I'm going to go Brent Venables, Josh. I'm glad you didn't ask me Brent Venables against Sharon Moore because one of those guys has a national title and the other one doesn't. And listen, Brent Venables is a guy too. I mentioned the O-line. He deserves to be doubted a little bit also. Here you go. The stage is set. But I do like the matchup again. Michigan was a nightmare offensively, just kind of like Oklahoma was for different reasons. Obviously, it's a new regime now, but I'm going to go BV. For a lot of the reasons you guys said, one of the defensive masterminds of college football. I expect him to have a really, really good game plan on Saturday night. Obviously, starting with stopping the run, getting them in some uncomfortable situations, 3rd and long, overwhelming a young quarterback, and have that kid seeing ghosts. He's going to make plays, right? He's going to get his. He's extremely talented, but getting him in situations where, again, he's really uncomfortable. He's rushing it a little bit. He's forcing the football. So, yeah, I'm going to go Brent Venables in the matchup for sure. I trust what he's going to roll out there Saturday night.
It's a guy that's confident. He's been in that position for a long time, and I know Chip Lindsey has too, but he's also in a new system, new team, everything around that. But we're going to get into the predictions and all that first. Anything else in the chat that we should jump to?
No, but I saw a Michigan fan said he'd take our receivers over their DBs, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's fair too. I think if you're being totally unbiased about it, I think that's a pretty fair pick too. I think Oklahoma, especially this year, it feels like they're deeper, and then those guys that had to go out there, they feel more comfortable too. You know, you're seeing some of the younger guys that were around that they can go out there now and do something. Again, that's the same thing with the offensive line too, I think. But yeah, I think that's pretty fair.
I know
Anything
that
else?
one thing I said on our show is I actually, for once, kind of see our special teams being a little bit of an advantage for Oklahoma. Having Satanga in that kick return position just has just different. That speed and agility is just something that we haven't seen in a while, almost 10 years. What would we say, Marvin Mims? Probably.
Yeah, Marvin Mims. Before that, you had
Hollywood.
But even
Jalen Saunders was a good returner.
It's hard to believe it's almost been 10 years since those guys. But it's nice seeing that, somebody that actually can make a difference. And that's something that the Michigan fans are more timid of. And I said to them, I was like, to me, this type of game gives me that vibe where your special team is going to win it for you. Like one big play or, just that one big return, or your kicker is going to make last minute field goal. Like it just has that type of vibe to me, just because the defenses are both so good, offenses are both unproven, is a good way to put it. Where the special teams does something special, and so that's what I'm looking out for. That was just something I felt like I wanted to mention there. Satanga ran it back, but it got pulled. It got we talked about got a return, but like something like that can change a whole game.
Did you guys get a chance to look back at that one?
I did it. I'm just going to take your word on
me?
it. I didn't get to look back on it.
Oh, you didn't?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I didn't think it was blocking the back. But again, I'm biased. I'll admit that. All right, let's go on to predictions. So right now, as it stands, it opened up, I believe, at 3.5. Oklahoma was a favorite. Now Oklahoma 5.5 point favorite, and minus 200, where Michigan is plus 170 on the money line. Over-unders now moved down to 45.5. I'm pretty sure I saw that open up at 48.5. Yeah, I mean, it's a low score there, but I still think it's pretty low. I mean, it's maybe not low enough. But let's go over. So first, to put this into perspective, the odds makers will give the home field advantage 3 points. So really, Oklahoma's a 2.5 point favorite if we're looking at this neutral. So still a favorite. About a field goal is what they're expecting Oklahoma to win by. They view this as a very tight matchup regardless. So we can say just spreads. We can pick our score predictions. Tia, I'll start it off with you.
I said on our show on Monday that my score prediction was 24-21 Oklahoma, with the 24 coming after special teams. So after a long return, whether it be a punt, kick, don't know. Towards the end of the game, you kick a field goal at the end. Whether that's with no time left or with little time left, your defense gets a stop. So I'm going 24-21 Oklahoma.
I like it, Chad.
What is it? Good teams win, great teams cover. I'm going to go 27-20 Oklahoma. Imagine if
I saw you move it up there too. So
yeah. I don't remember what I picked Monday, so I remade my score.
Yeah, well, and I feel like as you get closer too, you start to think about more and you start to feel one way or the other. Chris, what do you got on this one?
So I want to add to this too, because I've been following this line all week. Interestingly enough, on FanDuel earlier in the week, and when I took it, Oklahoma was a 6.5 point favorite. Now they're down to 5.5. So some money coming in on Michigan. And when I checked the total right before I came here, it was down to 44.5. Again, it depends on the book you're looking at, but the total continues to drop. The spread has moved a little bit. I'd liked it at 6.5. I like it at 5.5. This game Saturday night, we use the term must win a lot, and I guess unless it's an elimination game, it's not technically a must win. This one's as close to must win as it gets. And it's like we talked earlier, it's so big because if you lose this game, the Auburn game absolutely becomes, you don't win that one, It's going to start to get ugly. Even if you do win this one, the Auburn game becomes massive because it's like, all right, what are you going to do with it? It sets you up to make a run to the Red River Shootout being undefeated. It sets you up to make a run to set yourself up well for a playoff run, which is the goal of this football team this year. I mean, I look at Oklahoma a lot like a program like LSU, where I talk to my LSU buddies, 9-3 gets you fired if you do it enough. Mm-hmm. people don't realize, I think some SEC folks have forgotten because all this focus was on Texas when Texas and OU came in the league. Like, Oklahoma is the same mentality, right? Like, I thought the thing that stood out last year, I think Tennessee was a touchdown favorite when they came here, and the thing that stood out to me was that was the largest home underdog Oklahoma had been in like over 25 years. I was like, that just goes to show you how good OU has been. Like, they don't lose, period. So anyways, this game, I think everybody understands the importance. Brent Venables understands the importance. It's a tone setter for the season. I'm excited to watch John Mateer, the offense work. The offensive line scares me a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I think John Mateer goes silly in this game. I think the stage is set for him. I think he plays well. Again, utilizes his legs to extend some drives. I think Oklahoma's able to run it just well enough. But more importantly, I trust Brent Venables defensively to rattle a young quarterback on the road. Again, he's going to get his, but he's going to make some mistakes, and that defense has got to get theirs as well. I think they will. Again, I locked it in earlier in the week. I like Oklahoma to win. I like Oklahoma to cover the 6.5. I have them winning by double digits.
Ooh,
I had Oklahoma 27-17.
I'll take it.
Winning this game. I think it probably goes under either way. Like I said, I think it's going to be a rock fight. Close game into the fourth quarter. John Mateer marches the offense down the field, puts that final nail in the coffin, and they're celebrating in the streets of Norman. So
You make me feel better about my prediction then, because everybody that I've listened to make any kind of predictions, they keep on trying to talk me into saying this is only going to be a field goal game. But
Hey.
the way I look at this, no, and it's not cutting anybody down. It's just the way that I look at this. I don't think Oklahoma wins if it comes down to a field goal. I don't think Oklahoma wins if it comes down to only 5 points. I think the only way Oklahoma wins is getting out, going hard early, getting ahead, allow them to have some big plays in there because you're up so much. Allow them to do what Bryce Underwood would want to do, and allow him to kind of make some bigger plays here and there. But when you look at this game, I think again, this might be PTSD from last season, what you see with Oklahoma, but I just don't think Oklahoma wins this game if it's by a field goal. My overall prediction, I'm with you, double digits. I'm taking 24-13. I think Oklahoma gets that lead early, and they have to sustain that lead. But then, like I said, opening things up and trying to get that run game going late is really crucial, because Oklahoma doesn't have to be incredible running the ball. They don't have to come out here and have a 300-yard game on the ground or anything. They don't have to have more than 150. Really, I think the 150 is about that mark for you to just have good running. You got to have a specific back doing that good running too, a guy that you can lean on and rely on. So if you can get a guy around that 80-yard mark, I think you win this game, and you win it decisively. I think Oklahoma comes out 24-13.
I love it. Beautiful.
Fascinating game I want to add just from coming into the season. We mentioned unknowns of both, but I think most people looked at Michigan, had kind of a feel, hey, they're a 7-5-ish, 8-4-ish, about 8-4 is where you felt like. Y'all, I've heard everything from 5-7, and Brent Venables will get canned in a year, to 10-2, and they're going to the playoff. Like, this is a game, I think, where from the SEC-wide perception, the national perception, this is a game that starts to form that, what are they? Who are you? We're going to really start to learn here. Again, there's just been so many, mixed feelings on to where again, I was sitting at SEC Media Days, and I didn't know what to make of this team. I really didn't, right? And so I started to kind of feel a little bit better, some things I was hearing, started to admittedly drink either the Kool-Aid or either this horns down liquor here, this fine spirits here, whatever. But a game like this is going to really kind of morph that. Who are you really? Is it more of the same last year and you're struggling to get to 6-6, 7-5? What kind of conversation are we having come turn to November? Are we talking about, hey, here's the short list for who should the next coach be at Oklahoma? Or is it, hey, here's what needs to happen for Oklahoma to punch their ticket to the college football? Like, it's that drastic. I feel like this season for the Sooners is going to go one of two ways. I don't know that there's going to be a lot of gray area here in this season. Again, I like the Sooners to win this game, but you kind of knew, or you felt confident what what Michigan was. OU, there's even more unknowns, I think. So it starts Saturday night. Yeah,
absolutely. But I think we pretty much covered everything, guys. Again, appreciate everybody for tuning in, appreciate everybody for coming out as well. And of course, you can catch us live every Monday for the Sooner Smiths, these two over here. And then Tuesdays, I host a live show as well on Tuesdays, and then Thursdays also live, all 3 days, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then, of course, post-game recaps whenever we can get to them, of course, after the games. But, of course, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And then, Chris, let our listeners know where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, I want to say, guys, thank you all so much for letting me invade the set, be a part of this. And Boomer Sooner.
Boomer.
I want y'all to know. I want y'all to know something. If this wasn't already a big enough deal. This is selfish for your boy. On my feet right now are a pair of cowboy boots. My first ever pair of cowboy boots I've ever bought. I bought these yesterday for this occasion. I was like, I can't come to Oklahoma in my J's or my sneakers. We gotta set the tone. So we've set the tone for the weekend. I'm excited to be here. Oh, they're good. We're comfortable. We're good. I'll let you know by end of weekend how my feet feel. Either way, doesn't matter. We're gonna push through. We're gonna endure, just like Oklahoma's gonna endure Saturday night. Excited to be here again. Yeah, you can check us out, SEC Unfiltered, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, at SEC Unfiltered, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, our website, secunfiltered.com. And really appreciate it, man. Again, thank you all so much for letting me.
I appreciate you making the long trek and coming all the way from Nashville today.
It was a long overdue trip. Trust me, it was long overdue. We didn't get here last year. I felt bad about it. So really happy to be here.
You're here now, and it's in a big time game. It's one that the Oklahoma Sooners are hoping to be able to pull off too, and hopefully they can impress you, put them higher in those SEC rankings as well. But again, we want to appreciate the Woodworks Distilling Company. Everybody come check it out. It's a beautiful venue, beautiful place.
It's
awesome. Grab yourself a drink, and then of course the horns down. I know that I've tried the apple pie. I haven't tried the vodka.
I need to try that. I've never had this.
I think I told you I haven't. I don't drink any vodka. I don't have any drinks that I can think of. So, But anyways, very much appreciate it. Everybody come check them out here. Woodworks Distilling Company in Oklahoma City. And then, of course, catch us live, subscribe, like, comment down below your predictions on the game. Again, appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.
Boomer.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click Join, and then select a betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.